Beat him senseless.
You and me and you, we gonna throw down. That's right, we gonna get serious.
You can run, but you can't hide.
It's time for the Fuller Broadcast with your host, Jeff Fuller, and your co-host.
Hello, everybody. Welcome live to the Fuller Broadcast 24/7 sports news, live interviews, mania coverage. I do MMA, boxing, IKF, kickboxing, Muay Thai, KFC, you name it. I also do the refs and CUTMAN. So if you guys want to have your interview live on my show, just message me. I'll be glad to have you guys live on my show. So today's show is going to be his name is Stitch. If you guys don't know who Stitch is, he's a CUTMAN for some of the MMA, bare knuckle fighting. He's done a lot of fights for popular boxers. Welcome on my show, Steve. Appreciate you with all the support. As you guys see, I'm wearing my logo. KC Cochran made me the logo for my show, and Steve and his wife made me this shirt. I appreciate you guys helping me out. So hopefully we'll get Stitch here in a minute. And here he is. Let's bring him on.
What's up, man?
How you doing?
All right. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you good.
Good. It's my first time, so bear with me, bro.
All right, man. The first time's a good thing. So how you doing today?
Oh, good. Doing the same thing. Staying on lockdown, and I did a show last night at the MGM. Was in the bubble from Thursday till after the fight last night. And it's nice to spend a little bit of time with the family today. So kind of like everybody else.
That's good. It looks like it's going to be a long weekend because with Labor Day going on and supporting all the veterans and everything. So how are you? How did you get into the sport today to be a CUTMAN? How did you start off?
Well, before I was a CUTMAN, I was a trainer, and actually I studied the martial arts. I was in the military. I was in the Air Force, and from 1972 to 1976, and in 1974 they stationed me in Thailand, and there I started training in Taekwondo, and from there I progressed to Muay Thai, and got back to the States. I got into boxing, kind of improved my skills, and then opened up a school of kickboxing, and that's where I was a trainer first. I even promoted fights, and I had to learn how to be a CUTMAN, so all that kind of fell in place.
Sounds like you had a wonderful career. So being a CUTMAN, how do you enjoy this job? When you in that ring and you go fix a fighter up bleeding so bad, when you fix them up, how do you know a fighter can't continue competing? Like, does he have a certain amount of thick cut on his head, or is it your decision, the doctor's decision? How does that work out?
Yeah, it's not so much. Actually, that's a good question. But the reason a doctor or a referee will stop a fight is because what they say is if the fighter is at a disadvantage. So if he has blood coming into the eyes, maybe he has nerve damage, maybe his eye is so closed that he can't see, that will create a fight to be stopped. But not too much. If you got good ringside doctors that don't get scared with blood, then you'll be able to have a good fight that way. But those are the main things: is to take care of the fighter and give him every chance to win, give him that one more round, right?
No, I've been watching you, like, man, I don't know how long I've been watching you. It's been a long time, and I've seen how good job you did with all the fighters. And the fight I ever watched you do a lot of work on was the Joey fight, Joey and Lopez.
Oh, you're talking about in the bare knuckle fights?
Yeah, bare knuckle fight with Joey and Tony Lopez.
And Tony Lopez, yeah, what a blood fest, man! That was the first bare knuckle fighting, and what a way to kick it off, And basically, these guys, they are what bare knuckle fighting is a lot of heart, a lot of cojones, and definitely a lot of blood, But these guys went at it, man. I got a lot of respect for both Joey and and Tony, because they're the ones that set the pace on what's going on here. Fights have been great.
So, from all the bare knuckle MMA, and I hate to bring up UFC, but what was the most fight that you ever cornered that you had to work the most?
Oh, you're talking about with cuts?
Yeah, everything. Like, what's the most memorial, best fight you ever actually worked on?
There's been a lot of great fights that I've worked, which is, one of the honors of me doing what I do. But I think in MMA, and we're talking about the UFC, because, they kind of put me where I'm at now. But when Vitor Vanderlei Silva fought Chuck Liddell, it was about a week before the fight where I saw Vanderlei and Vanderlei and Shogun and Ninja and Verdum, they all in Brazil and in Japan for the Pride fights, they gave me the nickname Santana. So I always had a good relationship with the Brazilians, but I had saw Vanderlei like a week before the fights, and I told Vanderlei, that's my birthday. I want to give you good karma and I wish you the best. And it turns out that I'm working with Chuck Liddell. Leon Tabs is working with Vanderlei, and man, Jeff, it's one of the toughest, roughest fights I've seen till this day, where these guys are hitting each other, and you could hear the punches, and Chuck gets cut, and Vanderlei gets rolling, and it goes to the end. It goes the distance, and I clean up Chuck, and then I go to Vanderlei, and Leon Tabs is working on him, and he's all full. He looked like the Elephant Man. And I asked, I said, Vanderlei, how you doing? Yeah, because we're friends, right? Don't know, Steve. I'm okay, Steve. And then after all this hard battle, man, he says, Steve, happy birthday. I said, man, what an honor to have that bestowed on me, and probably the toughest fight he's ever had.
I've seen you. I've watched some of your fights that you worked at. Seems like your job is. A lot of fans ask me, is your job difficult or is it just easy, relaxing?
Yeah, it is. It's it's to the point where, and we were talking about it last night at the fights, because boxing is different than MMA when it comes to the CUTMAN. In boxing, they all think it's a secret, right? And I had one guy that just blew me off when I asked him, I'm learning to be a CUTMAN. That's when I had my school of kickboxing. I'm learning to be a CUTMAN. Can you tell me what you did? I asked. He was a boxing guy. And he says, fuck you, because I'm taking this to my grave, and you got to learn like me. And he walked away. And but boxing guys are like that. MMA guys are entirely different. They all follow the format that I put together with the, wearing the gloves, the wrist wrap where we put the swabs instead of like the boxing guys. They'll put the swab in their mouth, their ear, no gloves. Putting the Vaseline on my hand here and working like an artist. So you see a lot of MMA guys do that. Boxing, for the most part, they're still stubborn. I just saw a fight that they had yesterday on Fox where the guy got cut and the guy didn't know what to do. So that's not fair to the fighter. But had a lot of great moments, and I've been blessed.
And before I come up with any more questions, I want to say there's one movie that I like that you've been in. I love it. Here Comes the Boom. So how did it feel to be like a star in one of those movies? Like, a lot of people saw you like, hey, I know that guy. So how did it feel to be in a movie like Here Comes the Boom, like in MMA or boxing matches?
Yeah, I've been blessed, Jeff, to I've been like a total of 7 movies, playing myself. But what happened with Here Comes the Boom, I'm working a fight at the MGM, and people are always taking pictures of me, right? Hey, can we take a picture? Yeah, sure, no problem. Well, this guy says, can I take a picture of you? I said, no, let's take one together, thinking he's a fan, right? And he says, I'm Frank, so I'm the director of Here Comes the Boom, and Kevin James asked me to ask you if for you to be in the movie. And of course, I said, yeah, Bosch Rutten and Herb and Bruce and, all the guys I work with were going to be in the movie. But Kevin James, I was a big fan. My wife is like a mega fan of Kevin James. So I took the part, right? And I'll give you a little behind the scene stuff on what went on. So whenever you do movies, if you have lines in the movies, you get what they call residuals. And a lot of times the first residual check, like, the big one, in fact, I just got another check from Here Comes the Boom last week. But there's a lot of money, more money sometimes in the residuals. So anyway, I didn't have no lines. And I'm telling myself, I said, man, I got to figure out how to have a line in this movie, But Kevin James, as cool as he is, man, when it was time for me to do that scene, he pulls me aside. He goes, Stitch, we got to have you say something. What do you think? Well, shit, I already thought about it, bro, like 2 weeks before, And I said, so I said, well, you know what, man? Here's what I tell the fighters is welcome to the UFC. Oh, man, that's good. Yeah, let's do it. So, but one thing I didn't tell them is that I was going to slap them like I do fighters. I'll work on them and, all right, pull, let's go. So when it happened, they call me in and I'm working on them. And his line is, Stitch, I'm a big fan of yours. I can't believe you're working on me. God, what a week am I having? So I'm working on him. And finally at the end, I said, well, welcome to the UFC. And I walk away. And everybody started laughing, man, because I didn't want him to jerk, right? So I told him, I said, well, welcome to the UFC, and walked away. And that was the only take I took, and that was my $1 million line. And I still get residual checks from Here Comes the Boom. So, but Kevin James is super guy.
Yeah, I love all the movies and shows he played on, like Chuck and Larry. He's a really good actor. And I was when I first watched it, I saw you. I was like, I know that guy from somewhere. And it took me a while to figure out where you were at. And I'm like, oh, okay, he's the CUTMAN.
Yeah.
So it took me a while.
It was crazy, just to spend all this time with Boss Rutan and just all these guys was fun. It's always fun when you do something like that, especially when you're representing your sport. That makes it even better.
That's true. And I know there's a lot of fighters like to call you uncle when you have them, when they have you in your corner, especially Sheena Starr. She loves you. She calls you uncle too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, the other question I have for you, I've noticed you sell some tapes that are available for CUTMAN for the supplies or something like that. You have your own. I
got my own line, but first,
tell us a little about that.
Yeah, well, first let me get back to the uncle stuff, right? Okay.
Okay. Go ahead. Sorry.
Sheena, let me tell you about Sheena. To me, I think she's the best cut woman, bar none, in combat sports. I've worked with her in the bare knuckle fights, and that's not an easy thing to do because the cut ratio is extremely high. But she's cool, calm, and collected, and then she can fight. So I don't know of any other cut man that is active as a fighter and as a cut person at the same time. So, but for me to be called uncle and all that, to me, it's the grandfather. Some guys the father, but that bond that I create with the fighters. So to me, that's extremely important. I enjoy that's a respect factor. But yeah, I created my own. I created my own line of tape and my Inswell, the iron you put here. Mine is curved, so it's kind of conforms to the swelling. The tape is water repellent, and all that is at. I have it at CutmanForHireSupplies.com. He carries my tape, and I did that through a dream, Jeff. I was busy, I had my own tape, but I was traveling so much, and there's Sheena. Love you, Sheena. So I had my tape and I was selling it, and I'd be gone on the weekends. And if I got an order like Friday or something, I couldn't send them out. So through a dream, I called Juan Ramirez. He's the owner of Cutman for Hire Supplies. I said, look, would you be interested in carrying my products? And man, he jumped on it in a heartbeat because I'm there on the marketing side to help him. So that's how I got started with Cutman for Hire Supplies. But yeah, everything that I've done to try to make the game better and improve it, and educate and do as much as I can.
Yeah, I heard about that line of things you're starting, the videos, stuff you like selling as your own product stuff. And also I've heard that something about ICA patch, you have International CUTMAN Association. You carry a patch on your jacket or something?
Yeah,
Is that something you? Go ahead.
yeah. Federico Catizon from Rome, Italy, created the International Cutman Association, and I think fighters need to have an association also just to protect them. But it's an educational thing where we try to help each other. We work as a group, right, as a family, and educate. And so, being that I guess because of my name, they kind of nominated me as the honorary president of the International Cutman Association. So we've been to Cologne, Germany, and Athens, Greece, where we've done hand wrapping championships and get-togethers and social and teach. So now they're talking about maybe in 2022 doing another one in Rome, Italy, Sao Paulo, Brazil, or Zurich, So one of those places. So yeah, it's nice to be involved with them, and everybody is on the same mission and trying to make this game better. Because keep in mind, before all this, when it was only boxing, it was horrible. Nobody knew how to take care of the fighters, and now people that work in MMA or bare knuckle fights, they're real good cut people.
Yeah. So during your career with all the fighters you work with, what is it like to have all the feedback from all these fighters? You get a lot of good feedback. Like they love how you take care of them. You treat them like they're your own kids, and they love that. They like somebody to take care of them. What is it like to have all that support and people behind you all the way where you're at?
It's a good question. I think Sheena would understand because we're in the trenches with these guys, and as Frank Mir said, when I see Stitch walking into the dressing room, my stomach just drops because I know it's time to fight. And we have to bring outside of working the mechanics, Jeff, and wrapping hands and working the cuts. Psychology is a major part of our tools that you can't learn. That's something that has to be within your system. You got to know what it feels like when they get here. You have to be in those positions to understand the position that they're in, right? And then know how to apply the things. But psychology is a big thing. And when the Oro Machida beat Rashad Evans for the title, I worked with the Oro Machida, and if you remember, his father was a very proud shogun type of Japanese fighter, right, or gentleman. But after the fight, I go in the dressing room and I congratulate Lyoto Machida, and in front of his father, he says, "Stitch, in the ring, you are my father." And I'll tell you what, man, that made me feel so good because I know it came from his heart. And I thought about it, and he said, "You know what? Yeah, I am like your father." And I told the father, I'm going to take care of him like he's my son. And that seems to be the way I treat these guys. And whether you're a 4-rounder or whether you're fighting for a world title, you're a gladiator, you're a fighter, you deserve to be treated as a world champion. No shortcuts.
Man, I don't know what other question to ask, but I got one other question. Is somebody asked me to ask you, when do we expect to see you back in the corner again?
Oh, I'm doing fights every week, bro. Now with the bare knuckle fights, I unfortunately what's happening is when this pandemic hit, everybody was out of commission. But Top Rank, which is the top boxing promotion, called me, and being that the COVID has affected so many different things, different ways of doing that. I know when Stitch is in the corner, I could be calm, cool, and collected. Just focus on who's in front of you. Stitch has you covered. It's Travis Thompson. I love that kid, man. He's the best dressed guy that goes to the weigh-ins. Puts my ass to shame, So a shout out to him, man. But I was so excited. I forgot what I was talking about. But no, you got to love these guys, man. It's just, that's what makes my job fun is to work with these guys. And I told a guy last night that, I've worked so many world title fights that's not even an issue. For me, it's to know the individual that I'm working with and see how he got from square one all the way to the top, because it's a tough road that these guys go through, So I've been blessed.
Yeah, sorry, Travis is a good man. he won't get in a fight. He's ready. He's like, he sounds like Mr. Lane that let me bang. So Travis wants to get in and start punching faces. And I mean, he's a really cool guy.
Yeah,
So,
no, yeah. Yeah, no,
he kills me sometimes.
I tell you what, whenever Travis is in a fight, and whether I'm in the other corner or his corner, I know I'm gonna get some work, and I guarantee to get some work, and I prepare for that. So he's a warrior. You know, Jeff, the thing I like about bare knuckle fighters, opposed to, I always say, you know, boxers and MMA guys, they're right here mentally. Bare knuckle fighters, to cross that line, mentally you have to be up here. The whole mental game is entirely different, and to me, I have to respect them for what they do. So, but getting back to the bare knuckle fights, so what happened is, Top Rank called me, and they were going to start doing fights in what they call the bubble, and the fights are at the MGM here in Las Vegas. But we were going to be doing 13 shows in 6.5 weeks. So they had boxing on ESPN every Tuesday and every Thursday for 6.5 weeks. So literally, the ESPN guys and the camera guys and Top Rank and even Mike Basil, the other CUTMAN, they had to stay in the bubble for 6.5 weeks. I would check in on Sunday night. I would get tested for the COVID. I'd have to be in my room till the next day. Then I'd go to the weigh-ins and do the fight. And then the next day, I'd get tested again for the Thursday fight. And then after the fight Thursday, I'd go home. But, you know, those are the things. But anyway, get about the bare knuckle fights. The last 2 fights that they've had, Top Rank has had shows. We have shows every week now. So being that it's local and, you know, I'm kind of committed to them right now, I'm doing that. But I got to get a hold of Dave Fallman and say, look, man, don't scratch me off the list, because I love working with these guys. And you know, once everything gets handled where there's more of a gap, then I'll be able to do what I was doing before.
All right, you heard that, David. He's trying to get a hold of you. So when you get a chance,
Don't forget me, man.
So how do you feel? I just want to ask you about this. How do you feel how everybody's handling the COVID-19 right now? You being a cut man, how do you feel the fights are handling everything right now?
Yeah, you know, that's it's a good question that people need a lot of answers to, right? So what happened, I had a good ending before this COVID shit kicked in, right? So I was in New York City. I was going to work boxing with Shakur Stevenson, a world title fight. So I get in on Thursday night, and they said, no, the fight's still going to go on. There's just going to be no audience, right? I said, all right, as long as they throw a punch, I get paid. So Friday morning, they called us and they say, what, you know what? The fights have been canceled because of COVID. We're going to fly you guys back home. So I went home, and right after that, everything went on lockdown, and a lot of the guys, you know, the gyms are closed and what have you not. And like with Top Rank, when they had their first fights, they called so many guys in, but so many guys were only in shape to go and fight. So there was a lot of guys that took last minute type of fights. But it's changed the game, man. And what we're doing now, it's never going to be the way it was before. Never, you know. And, you know, with no audience, I hope the audiences are able to come back, because it's not the same. You know, I've done all these Top Rank shows, and I've got 15, 16, 17 shows, I think, of them in the last 3 months. But it's not the same, you know, with the enthusiasm. But I hope it comes back, and I hope it comes back, you know, within a year. But I think we're stuck doing this definitely for the end of the year, till the end of the year.
Right. I mean, ever since this COVID-19 hit, I mean, I've noticed a lot of fighters are very frustrated. They're training so hard at what they do, and they have to support their family, and they're just like really frustrated. They don't know what to do now. They, you know, they've lost like all the sponsor supports on some of the fighters because of this COVID-19. Do you think that we'll be able to get back to 100% within a few years? That fighters will be able to gain their momentum to get back where they were before this COVID-19 hit?
Yeah, I think within 2 years we'll have the full audiences once this COVID is arrested. That was a word for all the bullshit that's been going on and separation of people and all that bullshit. The word that interested me was being arrested. The COVID, if it has not been arrested, and when it does, then they'll minimize it. Eventually, we'll be able to control it, but that's not going to happen soon. But I think within 2 years, man, I think we'll be able to do that. Though we'll still be taking a lot of precautions. But yeah, and I feel sorry for a lot of people because they're not working. And the fighters, you're right, they have to depend on their families, and they never thought about it, but they lost their sponsors. But I lost one of my. I had Ford. They gave me an Explorer to drive, and because this kicked in, they said, well, let's wait till all this finishes, because But now I feel blessed that I picked up this opportunity with Top Rank to do weekly shows now till at least the end of October. But I would think that it's going to continue probably to the end of the year. And then, Mike Tyson's supposed to fight Roy Jones. I know I have 2 fighters on that card, maybe 3. So, that would be good for finances in November for me. And then December, I work with Tyson Fury. I think he might be fighting Deontay Wilder again in December. So if I finish up that year, I'll be blessed, and I'm blessed now, but I'll be happy.
Yeah, I'm blessed to have you on my show, man. It's good to meet you. All these years I've been watching you, man. It's great to have you. So I'm trying to think other questions. So from here, and that's what I want to ask you. So if I ever come to Vegas, would I be able to meet you sometime? I mean, I'd love to have you like picture to picture with you and stuff, man. Yeah, my kids heard about you, so.
Yeah, Jeff, I'm very receptive to fans because I'll give you a story from way back. Before I moved to Las Vegas, I've been in Las Vegas going on 26 years. Like saying, I work with boxers and kickboxers. When we had a show here in Las Vegas, it's before I moved to Las Vegas. I'm from Northern California. And it was me and my 3 brothers. And after, it was a Don King fight card. And after the fights, they have to have the fight parties. And we're nobody. I was still Jacob. I don't think people even call me Stitch. But we're talking to Randall Cunningham. And if you remember, Randall Cunningham was a quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles. And, we're excited. Yeah. We're excited because it's Randall Cunningham. But one of Don King's guys comes in and he says, hey, Randall, I need to talk to you. And this man says, hold on. He goes, let me finish talking to these guys. And, man, I felt about this big. I felt proud that, we were somebody. But I said, I'm never going to be like a guy that will just pass you by. And I'll always give myself to fans. So the answer is, yeah, you come to Vegas, touch base with me. Love to get together and meet you.
Yeah, that would be awesome, man. That'd be awesome. Especially do a one-on-one interview live right there on the spot,
Yeah.
So,
Jeff, real quick, this is what makes my job fun, is the fans. And that's one of the things that I miss in these type of shows that I'm working right now is that you can't relate to the fans and work with them. And they're the ones that give you energy. So.
I'm really glad to hear that. I mean, there's a lot of people who watch my show. Even my kids, they appreciate what I do. And my little girl right here is not even 9 years old. She's like what I do. I interview fighters, revs, CUTMAN. I don't care who interview. It's their job. It's hard. They do what they do to take the fighters. The fighters do what they do, fight in the ring. And I love what I do. Get you guys out there and let everybody hear what you say. That's what I love about my job too. So
yeah. And I've always said, this is the type of thing that if you do it for the money, you do it for the wrong reason. There has to be a passion for what you do, right? And then from there, you grow your program, and you have fun as you're doing it because not everybody is gonna be able to do this as a full-time job. And like I said, that's why I tell people, everybody wants to be a CUTMAN now. I got an email from a lady today that in the medical field, and And I tell them, look, you got to spend hours and days and weeks and months and years in the gym working as a fighter, understanding the fighters, and then going out and learning. But I tell them, if you do it for the money, you do it for the wrong reasons because you're not going to make no money.
That's so true. That's so true there. All right, so for you get, I want to ask you a quick question. How can the customers or fighters or everybody get hold of, I guess, your premium CUTMAN supplies? Would you have a website or anything they could go to?
Yeah, that's my buddy Juan Ramirez. He handles all my stuff. Plus, he handles everything for Cornerman and CUTMAN. It's the only place to go, man, and that's why I have him carrying my product. But go to CUTMAN and the number 4. So CUTMAN number 4. So CUTMANforhire.com. And he's a good man. He'll get it out to you like this.
All right. So before we get you off here, I want to thank you so much for your time to being on my show, the passion you do for the fighters, the love you give them. And that's why I wanted you to bring you on my show, because you have a lot of passion for what you do. Sure. And I wanted everybody to hear your story. So I'm happy to have you on my show. And would you like to say anything to your sponsors, any fighters or anybody out there before we get you off here, sir?
Yeah, there's yeah, of course, I guess first and foremost is Mark Zucker. If you remember when I was at the UFC, one of my sponsors was apparel company called One More Round. Well, when I worked with KSI, a YouTuber, Mark Zucker saw me and we connected again, and he's the one that makes my outfits now. And so we teamed up. So One More Round, check out some of their clothes because they got some nice outfits. And then I'm with a CBD company. It's called CBD Science. Sheena knows about it. I think Travis might need some, but it's they created a cream for cuts, and they call it Stitch Premium Cut Cream. But what it is, it has CBD for the inflammation, has a stem cell for the growth of the tissue, and vitamin E and collagen, and so we've been using it at the bare knuckle fights. So whenever the fighters would get cut, of course they have to go into a dressing room and get sewn up, and then Jay Timms, the marketing guy for CBD Science, takes a picture of them, gives them the cream. They apply it every day, and then at the end of the week they'll send us a picture, and we've used them as proof sources. So the results have been tremendous, and so now they're starting to make production to what they're going to be out and putting it out. But it's not good for the medical field and for the women that are getting plastic surgery or men, But one of the things we found out is it also minimizes the scarring. So outside of doing work as a CUTMAN, I've also do other things, and of course Juan Ramirez at CUTMAN for Hire Supplies. These are the guys that I'm interlinked with, and we work on a regular basis.
All right, sir. I really appreciate you being on my show, Stitch, and I can't wait to see you on TV. All the fights coming up, especially with Tyson and Roy Jones, and that's going to be a fight that I'm definitely going to watch. So we'll see how Mike Tyson turns out, being 53 years old. We'll see how it works.
Yeah, I don't think you'll expect to see the same Mike Tyson as you saw when he was Mike Tyson. But nonetheless, right. Mike Tyson is like Muhammad Ali, where he's always going to be recognized and respected throughout the world till the day he dies. So, and just to be part of that part of history for me is pretty awesome.
All right, sir. I appreciate you taking your time out of your schedule to be on a full broadcast show, and I hope to have you on my show within the future because I know you're going to be really busy. And hope to see you in Vegas when I travel out there. I'll message you or whatever. And good luck with the rest of the place coming up. And hopefully this COVID-19 ends.
It will. It will. We're tough and resilient, bro. And it's not the first time we've tried to get spanked by Mother Nature. Yeah, no, just everybody stick together, man. And yeah, I'd love to meet you and just tell your 9-year-old daughter to follow her dreams, man, because dreams do come true. And I'm no exception. I'm just a normal guy, but just doing the right things and opening up the right doors, and then having a passion and desire. That'll get you to the top. But that's the way you are. So I think she'll be okay.
All right. Thank you, sir. Thank you for all the kind words, and I'll see you soon. Have a good day. Have a good night. Thank you for being on the floor. Thank you for being on the floor broadcast.
Of course, man. Bye, Sheila. Bye, Travis.
Bye.
All right. Bye-bye, young lady. All right. Thanks.
All right. Have a good night, sir. All right, guys. You heard from a full broadcast 24/7 Sports News. You heard it from the Stitch himself. He's been on Here's the Boom. He's been on a lot of big fights cards. He's passionate in what he does. It comes from the heart. He loves to do what he does. He takes care of his fighters like he's one of his. And as you heard him, he's got a lot of fights coming up. He's going to be doing, which is I think he says starts this week at Top Rank Boxing. So I appreciate you guys watching my show and hearing it from the Stitch. I'll see you guys Tuesday night. Thank you for watching the full broadcast 24/7 Sports News, live interviews, and many coverage. And I also like to thank my sponsors that are helping me out with my show. Steve Tyson, the Hitman. Thank you. And D&D Baits. He's got baits for you. If you want some baits, just go on his website, D&D Baits. Thank you, and have a good night from the full broadcast show.